Welcome back to Searchlight. It's July 3rd. We've got 6 shows across 6 cities and 5 states, and a lot to be excited about today. The first is a brand new release from the Grateful Dead, July 3rd, 1966, from the Independence Bowl. A little bit more about that later. And the second is the return of Searchlight. Over the past few months, we have received an overwhelming amount of support, dozens of questions, and have even been subjected to a few accusations. So we'd like to set the record straight and let you, the viewer, know what to expect from Searchlight moving forward. As of July 3rd, 2026, Searchlight will be releasing videos in 3 forms. The first will be this, the Grateful Dead Today, or Weather Report Suite as some are calling it. A form you're already familiar with. We'll be putting these out Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, with the Sunday shows being exclusive to Patreon members. The second will be a viewer appreciation fact-checking show that's going to come out every other Thursday, the first one being on July 16th. We've been fortunate enough to get our hands on some vinyl, some CDs, some Playdead streaming codes that we'll be giving out to our loyal and astute viewers. The third will be some short documentaries we're hoping to put out for a year at least. We've already interviewed dozens of people for 2 of them, one being on the wall of sound and the evolution of the Grateful Dead's PA system, and the other being the true story behind the 1992 Lithuanian Olympic basketball team. So we know inevitably there will be some griping about the Sunday shows being exclusive to Patreon, and we understand, but it's only $5 a month, and we're hoping that it's enough to sustain Searchlight and keep it casting long into the future. So if you have the means, you can become a Patreon member using the QR code or the link in the description. But enough of this, let's get back to what matters. 6 shows across 6 cities and 5 states, July 3rd. Let's begin. Okay, let's begin at the Fillmore Auditorium, 1966, the Independence Ball, a weekend of music presented by Bill Graham that featured what would become San Francisco's hottest musical acts. You've got the Quicksilver Messenger Service and Big Brother and the Holding Company on Friday. Janis Joplin had just joined Big Brother and the Holding Company the month before. You've got the Great Society on Saturday featuring Grace Slick, who would of course go on to be in the Jefferson Airplane. And then you've got the Dead on Sunday. Now, this show and tracks from the show have been released in several different forms. The first being Rare Cuts and Oddities in 2005 that featured The Gangster of Love and the Don't Mess Up a Good Thing from the show. And then in 2013 and 2014, the Cream Puff War was included on the 30 Days of the Dead album. And then in 2015, the show was released in full on the 30 Trips Around the Sun box set, making it the earliest Grateful Dead performance to be released in its entirety. And now, 60 years to the day, July 3rd, 2026, the show is receiving a well-deserved standalone release. Now, we've seen some griping on the internet asking, do we really need another release from this show? And we would argue yes, that it's important to memorialize this show for 2 reasons. The first being that it's incredibly rare to have a 1966 performance recorded in full and in such high fidelity. In fact, Light into Ashes tells us that of the roughly 110 performances from 1966, there are only 21 known tapes. And of those 21 known tapes, most are just fragments of shows, not full shows. And second, the playing is fantastic, especially considering the band is barely a year old. So as we listen to this Keep On Rolling By, a song that's origins are still a mystery to us, by the way, let's give thanks to Owsley Stanley, who had the foresight to document what would become America's greatest rock and roll band.
Well, the man on the bus just won't tell me why. What your deal is as he takes my dime and tells me how to yesterday you had to clean up your mess. Well, here's my dollar, running up the flame. I don't know if what you say is true. Tell about just had you to say we're gonna reel it. I don't know.
You can learn a lot more about this show in the summer of 1966 from Jesse Jarnow over on the Deadcast. We put a link to that in the description below. But let's leave the Bay and go to Colorado Springs, 1969, for what would be the first show of a grueling cross-country tour for the Dead. 7 shows and 6 nights. Now, that is assuming that the show in Detroit did actually happen. And thanks to some investigative work by Dr. Jeff, a guest post over on Lost Live Dead blog, we feel confident saying that this show at Reed's Ranch is the most interesting from the tour. Reed's Ranch, which is now a subdivision located about 10 miles northwest of downtown Colorado Springs, was the site of what some attendees called a mini-Woodstock. The Dead shared the bill with Alice Cooper, who had just released his first album a week before, a Boulder band called Zephyr that featured Tommy Bolin, who would later go on to be in the James Gang and Deep Purple, and two acts completely unknown to us here at Searchlight, the Holden Caulfield Band, great name, and Devin Michaels. Now, according to promoter Dwayne Washuk, it was the soothing sounds of Garcia's pedal steel guitar that was able to quell some local cowboys who showed up at the festival looking to rough up some hippies. So let's have a listen to Garcia on that Zane Beck custom D10 pedal steel, an instrument that he actually purchased 3 months before up in Denver on a cover of Green Green Grass of Home from Colorado Springs, July 3rd, 1969. Okay, let's go to Kansas City for what may be the most underrated show of the day, 1984 outdoors at the beautiful Starlight Theater. Now, if you know this show, I'm willing to bet it's because of the Scarlet Touch Fire sequence that takes place here in the second set. A sequence that was only played twice, here in Kansas City and then 10 days later at the Greek Theater on July 13th. Now, at the Greek Theater, the band takes a sequence directly into Women's Smarter. Tonight in Kansas City, they're a bit indecisive, conversing musically for about 4 minutes and playing what is ultimately a prelude to the Brent Mahlon song, Don't Need Love. And I believe this is exactly what Scary Lawyer Guy meant when he said that the band was playing on a razor's edge every night in 1984. So let's have a listen to that deliberation that takes place between Fire on the Mountain and Don't Need Love. Let's head up to St. Paul, Minnesota, 1978 for the second show from that July tour, an abbreviated tour that originally had 6 dates, but unfortunately the show on the 2nd in Milwaukee was canceled, which is a bummer because we all know how well the Dead play in Wisconsin. Now, this show was of course included on that 2016 release, July 1978 Complete Recordings. And despite reports of a listless first set from Tim Carr of the Minneapolis Tribune, we find it rather enjoyable. Now, there is a lyric flub on Mexicali, some unnecessary slide playing by Bobby on the deal, but we like this Cassidy, we like the Peggio, and things really start to lift off in the second set, particularly the Dancing in the Streets, which, to quote Mr. Carr from the Tribune, modulates between whirlpool, crescendo, and rave up that defines the hypnotic musical primrose path that all Deadheads take. Let's have a listen.
Dancing, dancing in the streets. Dancing, dancing, dancing in the streets. Dancing, dancing, dancing in the streets. Dancing, dancing, dancing in the streets. Everybody.
Okay, let's go to Maine, 1988 for this legendary weekend from the Oxford Speedway, a show that was released in 2015 on the 30 Trips Around the Sun box set, and the final performance from the state of Maine, a state that the Dead played 16 times dating back to 1971, tying it with Arizona as the 26th most played state, including DC, of course. Now, 16 shows may not seem like a lot, but when you consider Maine's relatively small population, it's rather disproportionate. And when you adjust these rankings, which is what we've done here using a 1995 census, Maine actually ranks number 4 in shows per 1 million residents, proving that the Pine Tree State was quite the vacation land for the Dead and Deadheads. Now, what we'd like to play for you is this rather spirited version of Dear Mr. Fantasy, a version so spirited, in fact, it may be responsible for the induction of the 7-pound, 10-ounce baby boy delivered in the storage closet of the Speedway's offices that night. Diane, if you or your son are out there, please reach out. Let's have a look and a listen, courtesy of Chris Hazard. Okay, let's go back to California to wrap things up today. 1994, Mountain View Shoreline Amphitheater, a 1994 show like many that featured Bobby on acoustic guitar in the first set. Let's have a listen to Bob Weir on acoustic on this When I Paint My Masterpiece.
Both streets of Rome are filled with rubble. Ancient footprints are everywhere. Well, you could almost think that you're seeing double on a cold, dark night on a Spanish day.
Okay, that does it for July 3rd. 6 shows across 6 cities and 5 states. And as we said at the top of the broadcast, if you're enjoying what we do here at Searchlight and you have the means, you can join our Patreon for as little as $5 a month. It gives you exclusive access to our Sunday shows and supports what we're doing. But that's all we have for today. We will see our Patreons on Sunday, July 5th.